So glad to be talking to my next guest, the number 4 ranked bantamweight in the UFC, Cory Sandhagen. Cory, how are you, sir?
I'm good, James. How you doing?
Doing very well. Gotta say, happy belated birthday. I was last Wednesday, I think. What did you get up to?
We really didn't do too much. Just turning 30 was a little bit weird. Having to say that out loud for the first time was a little bit strange. But yeah, I didn't do too much. Just went to dinner with my parents and my fiance, and then that's about it.
Was it a good dinner at least?
It was a good dinner. Yeah, it was a good dinner.
Like steakhouse, or where do you go? What's a Cory Sandhagen birthday dinner look like? What'd you have?
We went to some like modern place in Denver called Linger that everyone really likes. It's like small plates, like one of those types of
Oh,
bunch of hipsters walking around, and me dressed in gym clothes and stuff like that. So that's pretty
okay.
much my social interactions is out
Okay.
at events like that. Yeah.
Now, the big question is, were you still hungry after having dinner because of the plate size?
I was a little bit hungry. So I don't, I mean, like, I like cake, but I don't love cake. But banana pudding is kind of like my jam. So,
Oh, cool.
my fiance actually made that for me for my birthday too. So I ate a lot of banana pudding that night also.
There we go. Anyways, so people don't think they're watching the Food Network. A lot going on with you right now as far as training and stuff. We'll get into that in a sec. But someone I know that you had trained with just picked up some hardware over the weekend. Raufeon Stots, the new Bellator interim bantamweight champion. Just how cool was it to see him capture gold as someone that I know you train with him?
Oh man, it was great, man. Like, I really loved. Well, one, it's really fun watching like your friends succeed at something that you're trying to succeed at too, because it makes it just is really inspiring. But what I really loved is like Raufeon's face as he got the belt, and he like just couldn't even believe that, that it was happening to him. Like all of his dreams were coming true and stuff. So that was super cool to see. And Raufeon, we train here and there, but he's just like one of the nicest, coolest guys that I've really, like one of the most high energy people that I've ever like encountered in my life. So it's really nice to see someone like that, like accomplish their dreams. That was really awesome for him.
And the way he finished the fight, he knocks out Archuleta, same guy who went, 5 rounds with Pitbull. Like that to me was so impressive. And I think it just shows how good he is. You started working with him. Was it before the Magomed fight? I was trying to remember, but it seems like, I hate to say it, Cory, but I shouldn't say I hate to say it, but it seems like he's leveled up since he started training with you even more. How cool is it to just see him, win the belt in that fashion, decisively getting a finish there?
Oh, that's cool. I think Raufeon honestly has been good for a really, really long time, and now he's just kind of getting to show that to the world. And uh, I don't think that I've played a significant part in it at all, honestly. I think that a lot of it is just years and years and years of his own hard work. And uh, like I said, man, I'm inspired by it. Juan is definitely no joke. Like fighting that dude would be, tough. All of the chaos that he kind of brings would be tough to deal with. And Raufeon kind of had to deal with some of that, and then learned kind of a lot of lessons probably in those first 2 rounds also, and then got to come out on top. So it doesn't go too much better than that. So I'm happy for him, man. I'm proud of him.
And how long did you end up training with him? And I saw Adrian Yanez as well. You got a chance to work with. How long was that?
I went out to Houston maybe for like 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, I stayed at his place. I hung out with his kids, his wife. Got to see how Raufeon lives a little bit in Houston. All of the food in Houston is very, very underrated. I had no idea that Houston was that big of like a food capital. But yeah, so I was out there for like 4 days, and then we had been probably working together maybe for like a year and a half or two now.
Yeah, no, it's been a little bit there, which is great. And getting to see his kids is kind of give a glimpse into maybe your future being a dad. I know you're engaged. I don't know if you want to have kids or not, but it kind of give you a sample of that.
Yeah, his kids are pretty high, or so one is a baby, but the other kid, Clarence, is a really, really cute kid. He's really high energy as well. So, yeah, I don't know if my kids will be that high energy just because they'll have my genetics and not Raufeon's, but
There you go.
it was fun. It was a good time.
So what's going on with you? We haven't seen you since the Petr Yan fight. I think a lot of people are wondering, we're coming up to the end of the month. We're in May. What is the latest with you in terms of when you want to have that next fight? Have you sort of been talking to the UFC? What's the latest?
Yeah, kind of just been waiting. I know that before the title fight, when I was talking to my agent, he was telling me just that they're gonna see how that goes, and then probably pair a bunch of us up for like June, July, August time. So that's when I'm anticipating to fight. I kind of just been being present and working on my own game for the meantime. I had like a little. I thought it would be a minor toe surgery that is turning out to just be still a pain in the ass, but that thing hopefully will be getting better pretty soon, so I can like not have to ever think about it in my life again because I've been kind of dealing with it for a couple of years now. But yeah, man, they were telling me June, July, August time, so I've kind of just been living in my own world, being present, reading a lot of books, training a lot, and that's really all that I've been doing.
If you could pick though when you would want to have that next fight, let's say the UFC came to you and said, "Hey Cory, when do you want to fight?" When would be the perfect time for you?
July or August.
International Fight
Um,
Week, July, because that's a pretty big card. They usually have everyone come out for that, right?
yeah, yeah, those things don't matter to me too much, honestly. Like fighting on big cards is cool or whatever, but fights are pretty big deals in my brain, whether it's on a big card or not on a big card. So I'm not at that level where I can, like things don't excite me still. I'm still excited by every single fight. So, but yeah, July or August sounds good to me, man. And they haven't really given me any inclination of what that opponent is going to be yet. So I'm kind of just waiting on that also, and that's about it.
Well, I'm looking right now. As far as I can tell, Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz, Merab Dvalishvili, Song Yadong, and TJ Dillashaw do not have fights booked. I know Dillashaw is probably not next because you just fought him, but is there like a preference of an opponent there? I know you'll fight anyone. I'm not saying, you're calling anyone out here, but I'm just curious, is there a matchup in there? I would think Cruz, because you guys were supposed to fight, right? Or there was rumblings of that.
Um, if I had to pick, I don't know. That's really difficult for me, man. Like, I truly don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I guess if I had a preference, that's even hard to answer too, man. Like, I think that in just from my experience, I don't care to make those types of opinions in my brain,
Mhm.
because I don't like to be let down or I don't like to, you know, I don't know. I'm a little bit strange in my brain, I suppose, in those ways where I try not to have a lot of opinions about things, just because I don't really think that they're that good for the soul sometimes. So I don't really have an opinion about who I want to fight next. When people like force me to give an answer, usually the answer is Cruz because I think that just from like an outsider's point of view and me putting myself in the eyes of like a fan, I
Mhm.
think that that would be like a really awesome fight to watch and for me to be a part of as far as MMA history goes. I think that Dominic's one of those people that kind of brings like he's a part of MMA history, man, and
Mhm.
and I want to be a part of MMA history too, and so I think that that would be really awesome. But also Aldo brings all the same things that Cruz does too. So if you had to ask me who it would be, I think it would be Cruz or Aldo.
Mhm.
And then I guess leaning a little bit more on the side of Cruz, but that's only if you're gonna twist my leg about it.
For sure. Are you sure there's no like Canadian lineage in your family? You're way too polite when I ask these questions, which listen, I like the honesty there, but do you not also think, just playing devil's advocate here, do you not think it's a respect thing as well? Like you respect Cruz, you respect Aldo, you respect these guys. Saying that a matchup would be interesting, does that not give them that respect as opposed to saying, look, I don't want to fight this guy, it doesn't do anything for me? Do you ever look at it from that angle at all?
I don't see myself as in a higher position, you know,
Mhm.
and that includes the champ too. Like I don't
Mhm.
think that I'm so good that I can just walk over anyone, and I don't think anyone is so good that they can just walk over me. So, and that goes all the way from the person with the C next to their name, all the way down to the people that don't have any numbers next to their name. Um,
Mhm.
in my eyes, we're all really equal, and it's a fist fight against another man, and anything can happen. So, that's more. I suppose that could be considered respect, but it's just me seeing the game for what it is, and I feel at this point I have a lot of experience in the game, and that is one lesson that I think that I've learned is that everyone is equal when it comes to a fist fight. Uh,
Mhm.
it comes down to like obviously a number of factors outside of that, but no one's above or below anyone in the sport, in my opinion.
UFC 267, Petr. I know you've had time to digest that fight. You're a very cerebral fighter, very intelligent when it comes to the game. What did you take away the most from that performance that you're going to bring into the next fight?
I thought that I don't know. Every time I watch those two fight, it just seems like they don't dance very well together. You know what I mean? Like they're just not very good dance partners, and I think that makes like for a really interesting fights every single time. So it's really when I'm watching them, it's just like watching. It's just watching a little bit of like an awkward fight. I would say. I would say that I wasn't too surprised by the decision. I think Aljo probably won the first round, maybe. That one was kind of a coin toss, though, to be honest. But I did think Aljo was like having trouble finding his range, having troubles with things in that first round, and then when he got the back in the second round and won that round pretty obviously very significantly. I think that added a lot of confidence to Aljamain. Oh, sorry. I think that added a lot of confidence to Aljamain in that fight, and it was the reason he was able to do the same thing in the third. And then fourth and fifth were kind of like Yan probably feeling like he needed a finish, which made for just like not like a very choreographed type of fighting, and instead a more chaotic style of fighting, which isn't necessarily always where you want to be when you're in a world championship fight. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty entertaining fight, though. I'm kind of happy for Aljamain in a way that he was able to be that huge of an underdog and then still be able to pull it off. Like the guy pulled a bunny out of his hat. So good for him, man. I think that he probably inspired a lot of people out there, and I'm happy about that.
Do you think that second round was a 10-8? Should it have been a 10-8 in your eyes?
I don't know the rules well enough to know if that's a 10-8 or not.
Okay, makes sense. By the way, I did ask you about UFC 267, not Aljo's Yan, but that's fine. I was going to ask you about that anyways. I was actually asking you what you learned from that fight against Petr that you had. What did you take away the most from your performance against him?
Oh, my fight against him.
Yeah, sorry, I should have just said Petr, your fight with him instead of the number. But I said UFC 267, which I think we're up to in the 70s now, 270 something. So that was the difference. It was my bad.
Yeah, no problem. What did I take away from going with Yan? A lot of things, most of which I would like to just kind of keep for myself, just because the next time I fight Yan, I don't know what I don't want.
You might be watching this. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to keep it top secret.
I don't know who's watching this, who's going to text him, all of that stuff. So
exactly. What kind of just back to Aljo and Yan, what do you think should be next for Aljo as a fan? I know, again, you don't like giving a lot of opinions, but some people feel like it should be Dillashaw. Aldo's, piped up and said, hey, look, you promised me a shot. What would you like to see as a fan next for Aljamain Sterling?
Who was Aldo's last win?
It was against Rob Font.
Oh, that's right. I don't know, man. I think that there's probably time for. Well, I don't really know how TJ's knee is still doing, but I mean, I suppose on paper, what makes most sense is probably TJ and Aldo fighting each other for that number one contender spot. I don't really think that TJ should probably get a title shot right after our fight, which was, like 8 months ago now, and I don't even still think that he won, but so I don't know. Should you get a title shot after a fight like that? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, I think Aldo and TJ would make for a really good fight. But like I said, I don't really know how TJ's knee is doing. I hear that it's pretty jacked up. So
interesting. Okay, so let's assume that. Well, I mean, both those scenarios you mentioned, there's still no opponent for Aljo. What would you like to see for Aljo's next fight? Would it be a Yan, a third fight with Yan, or do you see another opponent? Because to me, it's Aldo or Dillashaw. But if you, like you mentioned, the knee's not good for Dillashaw. Maybe it should be Aldo. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I think Aldo and TJ should fight for a number one contender spot, and then Aljamain should wait until that fight happens and then fight again.
Okay, I like the honesty there. Again, you're a bantamweight. It's not your job to match the fights. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. We do have a really interesting bantamweight fight going down this Saturday. Just wanted to get your thoughts on it. We've got Rob Font, Chito Vera. 5 rounds, first 5-round main event for Chito Vera. Rob looking to bounce back. They both lost to Aldo, actually, which is interesting. How do you envision that fight going down as someone who I'm sure pays attention to the division?
I think it's a little bit interesting because Font is coming back kind of quick after that fight with Aldo, where he took like some pretty serious shots in that fight. So um, that kind of makes for a little bit of an X factor, you know. Like I don't really know how his chin is gonna do, you know, that quick after a fight like that because brain trauma needs to be treated the exact same way as like any other physical trauma where, you know, you need to let it rest and have it take its time to heal or whatever. So I think that if Font's, you know, okay and recovered from that, I think that he's, you know, probably the better fighter in my opinion. But I've been wrong a million times in the past. So uh, I do think that Font is a little bit of a better fighter, but also at the same time, I think that he's coming back kind of quick after a fight where he took a lot of damage, and that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting.
Someone you fought recently just retired. I don't know if you caught that. Marlon Moraes is hanging it up. Just your thoughts on that decision. Do you think it's the right decision, or do you think he should have continued? I was just curious.
Um, no, you know, retiring from the sport is probably not an easy decision to make, and I'm sure that it wasn't easy for Marlon to make, and I'm happy for Marlon, man. Marlon's done a lot in the sport. He's built his name a lot. He's done some really awesome things. He's conducted himself, in my opinion, in a really nice way for, you know, other fighters to, you know, be led by, and good for Marlon, man. I'm happy for him.
What do you make of Henry Cejudo wanting to come back and fight Volkanovski? Do you think it happens? Apparently, he's entering the USADA pool, so we'll see if that actually takes place.
I kind of want to watch that fight, honestly. You know, like I don't know, man. Henry talks so much shit that like he's kind of, you know, hard not to want to watch either get beat up or beat the other person up. But I mean, man, sometimes I think about. So I was watching the NCAA championships, you know, whenever they were a couple weeks ago or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, I actually watched them a little bit later, so I watched them a few days ago. But as I was thinking about that, I was like, man, Henry Cejudo. Well, how old was he when he won a gold medal in the Olympics? He was like really young, right? Like
Mhm.
18 or something.
I think so, yeah.
That's incredible, you know. And you know, he acts cringe and he's, you know, a bit annoying, and his personality is what it is. But as far as a competitor goes, that dude is one hell of a competitor,
Mhm.
and I kind of want to watch him fight Volkanovski. Who else is there to have him fight right now? You know, there's really no one
Well, he
else for
could
Volkan.
come back to your division, right? I mean, that would be kind of interesting, right? Because he only defended, I think, the title one time, didn't he, against Cruz?
Yep, that is true. I mean, he could come back to our division too. I don't know that he would get a title shot right away. I think that the more interesting play is Volkanovski, just because Volkanovski literally has kind of no one else to fight, and our division is kind of stacked right now. So uh, Henry kind of wouldn't be jumping the line at all if he went up to 145 and fought Volkanovski. I mean, he would in a sense, but I mean, there's really no one else that has an argument right now.
Well, you don't think Holloway should get his third chance? I know he lost twice technically, but that second fight was pretty close.
That is true. Yep, that is a good point. Yeah, I would probably, you know, I'm going to take Holloway's side over Henry's any day of the week.
Okay, there we go. We got the truth out. It's all good. You mentioned Cejudo talking some smack. Colby Covington, as usual, has been talking a lot of smack, and he paid the price outside the cage with Jorge Masvidal attacking him. What did you make of that with Masvidal, going out there and getting him after the fight, so to speak?
I think I think that in our society we're protected by laws, and the reason we can't just get upset at someone and go beat them up or like do something even worse to them is because we would have some pretty serious consequences from like the judicial system and things like that uh, that we don't want to have happening, you know. And I think that people take big time advantage of that, and I think that that's really unfortunate. And I think that Colby going as far as he does in the trash talking, um, he kind of asked for it, dude. Like I think that we as fighters sometimes get a little bit boastful and prideful in the way of like seeing ourselves as these like badasses that if I can beat you up, then I get to say and do whatever I want to you. But it's like that isn't how, you know, real confrontation works and how real war works. How real war works is if I really want to take you out and I'm crazy enough to take you out, it probably wouldn't be that difficult. It wouldn't be me and you signing a contract to fight on a certain day under a very specific set of rules. It would mean, hey, this guy's talking trash and he's at this restaurant. I'm going to go to this restaurant and beat this guy up because that's how real war works. So I think that Colby's not going to learn his lesson from that, but I think that you should have learned a lesson from that, man. Like, just because you're better at something than someone doesn't mean that you get to, like, do and say whatever the hell you want. And those are my thoughts on that.
I appreciate those thoughts. Okay, before we go, you casually mentioned it there. You're engaged. When's the wedding? That's my first question. Second question, will it top Austin Hubbard's wedding in Mexico?
It's not going to be at a nice of a place, I'm sure. It's definitely not going to be in Mexico. Honestly, man, it's going to be Erica has a lot of family, so it's going to be kind of a big wedding, which is going to mean that it's not going to be the fanciest of weddings, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be in Denver. We haven't set a venue or a date or anything, but it'll hopefully be sometime next year as long as they're not all booked up. And it won't be the fanciest, but it'll be full of love, which is what it's really about.
Cory, thanks so much for doing this. Always appreciate you taking the time, man. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media you want to plug, I'll give you the last word.
That's it, James. Thanks a lot for having me on, man.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.